7 Artist Way recap. Let me put on my specs.
I will just say I've been giving myself more time. I made it to the gym to use the studio while it was open. Took a Pilates class this week.
Done all 7 of 7 days of morning pages.
I'm having a not so great week or day. I'm such an optimist that sometimes I can be disillusioned or just live in my little psychosis about what's going on in my life. But really, what is the difference between being an optimist and kind of sort of being in denial about reality, right? I decided today to scrub my IG page and, just clean it up. I have posts going back to 2019, and I just don't resonate with everything anymore. It was a lot of pandemic content, just parts of me that aren't here anymore. But while I was also looking, I just noticed how vibrant, how ambitious, how happy I was, how much more energy I had for myself and my creativity. Like my life was a creative act. You know what I mean? Now I have to do so much planning and plotting to, I don't know, have my life feel creative. A lot of my life before, when I was actively performing and modeling and things, it kept me busy. It kept me at venues. It kept me out and about. So it made me feel my whole life was a creative act. I was in rehearsals, or I am working on a costume. I have to make an appearance, so I have to get done up. When you're a burlesque performer, there's kind of an aesthetic you maintain when you are outside of drag, if you will. I don't know. I just feel kind of blah now. I'm pouring into a lot of things behind the scenes, but I don't know. Something's missing. And this week, part of the reading spoke about jealousy and using that to identify things that you actually want for yourself. I noticed that I am jealous of certain creators, filmmakers really, who take it upon themselves to not make excuses and to shoot themselves, team or not, and can simplify a concept, can have their social media content still be artistic and cinematic. I started reflecting on my own self, and I have felt like this in the past, and I took it upon myself to shoot something. I think the first time I did that, I was in Costa Rica, and I had the retreat center to myself and recorded a short called Hungry. But when I got to post-production, I started heavily overthinking it. And it never really saw its final form. And I took bits and pieces of it for my film reel, and honestly, the condensed version is probably better than, the full version I was aiming to create. But either way, nobody's really seen it. I posted a small bit to Instagram like a year ago, maybe, but it's almost like I'm not proud of myself as a filmmaker, or I'm not confident in my voice yet. And I think that's because I put a lot of eggs in the black magic basket and into my writing slate. When I say my writing slate, I have so many things that I've written, so many shorts, so many pilots, and I have them all organized in a spreadsheet with kind of where they are in development. Hyperfixated on some point, it's just being a better storyteller. But then I know that you got to get these stories out into the world. You have to get them off of the page and to the screen. So yeah, that's the challenge for me. I decided to, sometime last spring, intentionally create a short designed for social media. So I shot it vertically, and that was The Read Part 1, which I will probably upload here shortly. And that was supposed to be the beginning of a series about the things that I had been reading, because I just felt like I was in a learning stage, but I still wanted to be in a creation space and let people know what I'm doing. So I liked it. It was fun, but I just didn't continue with it. So it didn't allow it to grow. And during that period, I also shot some other things, just using what I had in the space that I'm in, and came up with a couple of shorts that I started editing, but kind of got discouraged with. I don't know, it's again this finishing bit. So I just had this break and realized like, you're still not living as an artist. You're theorizing, living as an artist. And you're kind of like dabbling in it. You're, I'm not going to say paralyzed in it. I'm just not working at the capacity that I know I am capable of.
One of the tasks for the week asks you to put on some kind of music and doodle or draw or just see what comes of it. And I decided to listen to Kalela's new Unplugged album, In the Blue Lights. I want to say that's what it's called. I'll put it up here. But a lot of like grief and shame and sadness came out of me, and I'm not typically like an artist that draws or expresses herself that way. However, I realized that that is something that I've long wanted to do. That is something that kind of got pushed aside as a possibility when I didn't go to art school. I just figured I'll just lean on my strengths, and there was really no need to explore that, even though I had a desire. And then when I did want to act on that desire, once upon a time, somebody that I was dating was like, don't waste your time buying painting supplies. You're just gonna let it sit. You're gonna waste it. I guess they saw my ADHD ahead of me, but it was really discouraging because that's what wanted to come out of me at the time. And I connected the dots and was like, Jupiter, which is my most successful, most popular piece thus far, I was body painted in that piece. And every look, I was body painted. Like I became the art. Yeah, it's just a longing. I have dreams, desires, and fantasies that surround painting, and even the opportunity that I spoke about last week, being asked to collaborate with a painter. So I'm just connecting dots, finding synchronicity. Pretty heavy week, honestly. My birthday was this week, which I don't know about y'all, but when my birthday comes around, I become extra critical. It's like you do that year assessment and see where you've grown, where you haven't, and I honestly pick myself apart. I spent a lot of my birthday resting, which I'm not mad at because rest is liberation, rest is resistance. However, I'm working on some things. This is my artist way journey, so yeah. Okay. Of my artist date this week, I went to a sound bowl healing session, and it was everything that my body and spirit needed. I didn't realize how tired I was or even how stressed I was until I got there, and 15 minutes into the session, I'm leaned over on the cushions on the pillow. I'm wrapped in a blanket. I am fetal position. Shortly after, somebody in the room is snoring, and it was actually really beautiful to just be in a room full of Black women resting together, healing together, being together in real time, in the flesh, which I find to be very important these days, and it's going to be more important moving forward. Yeah, I got to see some friends, old and new, and it was a very intimate group, probably about 7 people. I think that set the tone for a clearer week. Things have been moving this morning, and I'm just grateful. I also met the owner of a Black-owned nail salon who has an event space in the back where we were able to meet, and it's right around the way. Week 7 got me reacquainted with myself just by asking simple questions like, what are your top 5 favorite movies, or what are your top topics to read about, and are those things present in that vision board that I began? Are those things present in my life? Are these things that I'm actively putting energy into, right? And I guess you can't put energy into a movie, but the movies are supposed to identify themes and interest about yourself. So my top 5 favorite films, and honestly, this is a lie. I think these are probably just the top 5 movies that came to mind in the moment, but for sure, The Fifth Element. Absolutely love that movie. The Matrix, the first one specifically. The Cell with Jennifer Lopez. That movie is the movie that made me want to be a filmmaker. The visuals were phenomenal. The costume design, it was just a masterpiece. It's beautiful. Probably gonna watch that over again sometime in the very near future. But anyways, The Cell. And then there's this old movie called Dance With Me, starring, I want to say Vanessa Williams. And she's a ballroom dancer that meets a Cuban man who learned to dance salsa in Cuba and dance from like spirit versus her dancing counts, right? And I love that movie. It slept on. The dance sequences made me want, honestly, that's the movie that made me fall in love with Latin dance. I just connected something. Okay. And then Baps, which I watched yesterday. I love that movie. It taught me to follow your dreams. It taught me that good things come in threes and to look out for the signs. It taught me that when you go all in, sometimes risk pay off. It taught me not to be greedy. There were still a lot of lessons in that movie, honestly. To be unapologetically yourself, that there's no amount of wealth out here that is more important than love. There's so many good messages. Anywho, so from those movies, I was able to gather that, okay, from the Fifth Element in Matrix, I'm a sci-fi girly, and of course, I'm a Trekkie. Period. And then I realized that all of the films maybe have like an underlying thread of hope. Maybe Dance With Me on Baps, I would say, brings me that diasporic joy, that black joy, that melanated that we have, you know? I love that. That's reflected in all of my work. I love black women. I love black people. I love culture. I love the diaspora. It's beautiful. Also, black women following their dreams or not being afraid to live off the beaten path. The underdog defying odds, yeah. And a sense of adventure and just the rules, all of them. I think that sums me up a lot, like pretty well, to be honest. So those things are reflected in my life, not necessarily on my vision board. I have cotton mouth. I need water. My favorite topics to read about are astrology, natural remedies and natural living, dream states and altered consciousness, anything filmmaking, anything about writing, a lot of self-help and development books. I love self-improvement. I love working on myself. I still didn't get that water and I'm parched. Biographies, specifically of artists and black revolutionaries, books on sexuality and sensuality, and books on somatics. While I was doing dishes, a completely unrelated task, I had an epiphany about my relation to filmmaking. And I was once upon a time like an OG YouTuber, not really intentionally, but I used to make videos with my friends. I was the one recording all of the shenanigans and editing them and posting them to YouTube. Inserts something here.
People moving out, people moving in. Why? Because of the color of the skin. Run, 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 but you still can't hide. I'm so for you. Fall for me and I'll set you free. Run, sisters. Run. Handshakes, but have to.
My love for filmmaking started very early. I'm just putting the pieces together now. So when I was in kindergarten, my teacher, Miss Lisa, at the end of our year, gave every student a VHS tape that was about 8 hours long, full of memories from our whole year. And I held on to this tape, honestly, forever. Somewhere in my parents' divorce a few years ago, it got lost in the sauce when we cleared out our family home. Sad about that, but I'll never forget how that video made me feel. And that was the moment I realized the importance of capturing memories. And then later on with my friends or with family, I would just record things. And one Christmas, my parents bought me a Nikon and I started doing photo shoots with my friends and myself. And I was on punishment often, like I think the longest time I was on punishment was for like a year and a half. I would spend time photo shooting myself, getting comfortable with my body, handling a camera and telling stories and putting looks together, and started my budding creative design desires, right? And it made me realize with the filmmaking, at one point I was the one picking up the camera and bringing the vision to life. And then at some point along the journey, I started depending on other DPs, other videographers to help me realize that I gave my power away and I didn't know that I gave my power away. I think I just buckled down on like, I'm a creative director and stopped other things. I stopped getting better with the camera. I Even in my last relationship, my then partner was the videographer and the photographer, and I was often the subject or was the creative director for whatever projects I was bringing us gigs and things to work on. So, you know, it worked. But then I realized when we split, a lot of my creative energy and capacity diminished because I didn't realize how much I was depending on another person to help me get the idea out. So now I'm reflecting, like, I think I want to be behind the camera. And I know exactly which camera I want. I want a Nikon ZF. It gives you that like vintage film feel with mirrorless capabilities that can compete with Sony and Fuji and things, you know. Again, I still don't have a laptop. So that is another large expense that I'm not really looking forward to making, but it is necessary because I do have the ability. And then the last few times I have sent my scripts out for shorts or things that I want to create that I can already see. And I'm the type of person, if I can see it in my mind's eye, it already exists. But the last few times I have sent scripts or sent things to creative peers I've worked with in the past or people that I respect, it kind of get brushed off in a way. I'm not gonna say picked down, but not picked up. I think I'm getting very dangerously close to the point where I'm like, I'm about to do it. I gotta stop cursing on YouTube. They don't like that. But I'm getting to the point where I'm like, screw this. I'm tired of this, grandpa. And I think I'm just gonna do it myself. I'm going to shoot more, tell more stories. I also want even these videos to be cinematic masterpieces. I've had a lot of men creators. I've been trying to manifest women filmmakers and creatives to collaborate with. I don't know why it doesn't align. Or last time I tried to build something with another woman creative, they made it weird by trying to get at me several times despite me telling them that's not what this is and that I was uncomfortable. Even the men I work with don't do that to me. I always wonder, because to me, creative energy and sexual energy is akin, very similar, right? So is it underlying like a small sexual attraction that even drives us to our co-collaborators, but instead of using that energy to procreate or have sex, we use it to create something else? It's still the act of creation. And I think it's so beautiful and so poetic. And if I was to be honest with myself, I think a lot of my relationships were really supposed to just be collaborators, co-collaborators. We were just supposed to share beautiful energy and create something bigger than ourselves together. And a lot of hurt and pain could have been avoided. That been the focus, you know? So please don't try to get at me through creative collaborations if you're watching this, because people try and it's tacky. Thank you. Another theme of this week was finishing. I just want to finish the shit that I started. That's it. I just want to finish. I just want to follow through. It's not always easy, and I don't believe that true growth happens on cut corners. I don't think you're going to reach the fulfilling destinations that you want to cutting corners and trying to skip the growth necessary with certain things. So I'm trying to honor this process and honor all processes and understand that not every part of the creative process is going to be as fun as the ideation phase and, you know, that juicy feeling when you first get an idea. The follow through is a little tougher, and especially as the ideas and visions get grander, and sometimes it takes people outside of yourself. So it teaches patience, it teaches faith and discipline and so many things. I was talking about how quick people are to cut corners. Why do we sacrifice the lessons that come with this human experience? There's something to be said with the follow through. That's how we build character in mind and body and spirit. Like, that's how we grow. And we're stunting our growth as people, avoiding the processes. These things are priceless. You cannot buy them. They can't be acquired. These things are learned. This is wisdom. We're losing recipes, guys. We're losing the recipes. We're losing the recipes because people aren't doing the work. And all that to say, I don't want to cut corners with this process. And I'm also working to be more honest with myself and therefore more honest with everybody watching, because things are hard. Things are not easy. I don't want to always put on a smile, say everything's good when it's not.
You know, I told myself a long time ago that I would like a life that feels good, not only looks good. So I'm working on that as I do this internal work, as I don't put as much into the exterior. I'm doing a lot of the internal, you know, and I'm really excited to see what comes from this. I just got to get out of my own way. Got to get out of my own way. I got to take the reins back. I have to be not only the narrator of my life, but the director and the main character simultaneously, all while truly disregarding the audience so that I can be authentic to me. And I'm gonna leave that there. That is my week 7 Artist Way recap, and I will see you next week.